the team's focus this entire year has just been 1-0, and no matter who we play, we have the same objective every week.
We had that one last year. We all know it. It was a 4-quarter game, and I think what we'll take away from that one is we're not out of the fight, no matter who we play. And we're going to be even more prepared this year. We're a more complete team. We're ready to finish games in the fourth quarter, and we'll be ready to go.
And welcome back into the Tiger Kickoff Show, presented by the Columbia Missourian. I'm your host, Harrison Vapnek from KOMU 8 Sports, joined alongside the beat writers of the MU football team, Wendell Shepherd, Ryerson, Brandon Haynes. Feels like we're all very dressed for fall, kind of that post-Halloween season. We were all dressed up on Monday's show. Now it's like, Wendell's the exception here, but very fall outfits. Ryerson has the quarter, or the Q-neck and the flannel over there, and I'm in the quarter zip. Feels like fall outside. It's also cold out.
Yeah, we went from early fall to the middle of winter in the span of a week, which I don't know how that happens.
It's
but
sad, man. I missed the warm weather. I threw the coat on over the.
I was wearing 4 layers on Tuesday night also, so don't make yourself feel bad. The weather might be cold, but the stakes, they're pretty hot as we head down to Athens later this week for Missouri and Georgia. Georgia, the number 2 team in the country in the college football playoff poll. Missouri, the number 12 team. It's the highest they have ever been ranked in the CFP era, and have a chance for a really landmark and statement victory over the 2-time defending national champions. Coach Ringwitz and the Tigers they said they needed that bye week to get things going. Heard of the press conference on Tuesday, sounded pretty confident about how the bye week went, and I think has the guys feeling really good going into Athens. What is the number 1 key to an upset on Saturday, Wendell, for Mizzou to upset number 2 Georgia?
I think it's going to take a lot of things going right, but I think you have to start fast. Georgia's going to be a hard team to come from behind and beat. I think you're going to have to start fast. You're going to have to get some explosive play. That's one area where Georgia appears a little susceptible. It's the big plays, and that's something that Mizzou has shown they're equipped for this year. I think you're going to have to get big plays early.
Adam, what is your recipe for a Missouri win in Athens on Saturday?
For me, they have to win the takeaway battle. I mean, back in 2013, when they got the win in Athens, they forced 4 turnovers in that game, 2 fumble recoveries, and 2 interceptions down the stretch. And if you look back in history, teams that are playing the number 1 team in the AP poll, they've had to get the takeaways. In 2020, Notre Dame had 3 when they upset number 1 Clemson, and in 2021, Texas A&M forced back-to-back turnovers, which led them to a win over Alabama. If they aren't able to win the possession battle, I don't think that they have a chance to win this game.
And the Aggies also had a kick return touchdown in that game that sparked that upset over the Tide. Brandon, we've talked a lot about special teams this season. The fake punt from Luke Bauer, the Mevis 61-yard field goal to win the game. You even mentioned Harrison Mevis as one of your players who could break out in the last 4 games. How can the special teams make a difference on Saturday if they can beat Georgia?
Yeah, Harrison, I think you just mentioned it. Obviously, there was a kickoff return in that game, but I think Mizzou special teams has an ability to kind of take the top off the game. If they're able to connect on some long, kind of makes on the field goal side, but also just kind of impact the kick return and punt return game. That's something they haven't had success in yet, but obviously you got some explosive players back there. If you can just get one that just breaks through, that can change the momentum of a game, kind of like what we saw with the fake punt. And if you can ride that momentum on the road, you saw what happened against Kentucky, it could possibly happen again. In terms of specific matchups in this game, I feel like there's a lot all over the board we're going to talk about for Missouri receiver Dom Lovett. Starting maybe on a unit that not a lot of people are talking about, the Missouri offensive line, which I think has improved as the season gone on. How do you think they can make an impact in this game, and what matchup can they provide to possibly win the game for the Tigers?
They're going to have to give Brady Cook time in the pocket. I think this is going to be the best front 7 that Mizzou's faced all season. This offensive line's been really, really good this season as far as protection goes, but you're going to have to give him time. Brady Cook gets rid of the ball quickly, but you're going to have to make sure he has time to find Luther Bird and Theo Weiss, guys, to get those explosive plays I mentioned earlier. I think if they win there or perform well there, then Mizzou has a chance.
Adam, moving over to the defensive side, what matchup do you think that Blake Baker's group can have an impact in pulling off an upset?
They have to be able to disrupt Carson Beck. I mean, it's essential. He has had so much time in the pocket, and over the last couple of games, we've seen him absolutely excel as a passer. So you need to be able to get pressure on him and get pressure on him often. Georgia is the least sacked team in the SEC this year, and their offensive line is completely healthy. If you let him stand back in the pocket, they have so much talent on that offense that they're going to be able to find their playmakers, get them the ball, and really hurt Missouri in that aspect.
Brandon, what matchup do you have your eyes on?
I have that matchup on the Georgia receivers, obviously, it's a big matchup there. Georgia's receivers, there are 10 of them with at least 90 receiving yards. There are 10 Missouri players with a catch this season. So just let that sink in. They have depth at that position. Even without Brock Bowers, they're still a lethal receiving core, and it's something to just watch out for. They have an ability to stretch the field. With their numbers, they're able to kind of swap in based on each person's strength, which is kind of interesting. So we can see a lot of different guys making impacts. Obviously, Dom Lovett's the one that you're going to circle there, but Ladd McConkey has really stepped up since returning with a back injury, and he's just been quite lethal down the field.
I'm surprised no one's really talked about the Missouri offense versus that Georgia defense. I think there's two sides to this coin, obviously. I don't think Missouri's offense has seen a defense like Georgia this year. Probably the best defense they've faced is either Kentucky or Kansas State. Missouri's offense is one of the nation's best statistically. Brady Cook and Luther Burden are having all-time great seasons for this program. But on the flip side, has Georgia's defense seen an offense like Missouri yet? Like, who's the best offense that they've played? Like, South Carolina, they scored 14 points in that game. Florida's offense isn't super dynamic. Kentucky's offense has been limited all year. They didn't play really anyone in the non-conference slate. Like, is there a chance that Georgia is possibly maybe a little shook? Once they see the receiving core of Weiss, Burden, Cooper, and Schrader in the backfield, and maybe what Kirby Moore can dial up? Like, is there a chance that Missouri can expose something that Georgia really hasn't seen this year?
I think maybe. I mean, a lot of Georgia's defense, are returning guys. They lost some guys to the draft, but they've played in big games before. They've played good teams before. But I think as far as this year goes, this is going to be the best offense they've faced. But I mean, I think they're going to be prepared for it. I think Mizzou's going to have to be at their peak to really influence Georgia's defense.
What do you got from Missouri offense versus Georgia D?
I think that Missouri offense, they haven't played a defense like Georgia, specifically a secondary like Georgia. In my opinion, I think that they're so well-rounded in that secondary that they're a top 5 unit in the nation. I mean, the one thing for Missouri coming into this game is they are, based on the numbers and everything, they are the hardest team that Georgia has played this year. Georgia has not faced a quadrant 1 opponent all season.
That's a college basketball term. It used in the context to make you think, like, who's the best team this team has played?
Yeah, and I mean,
it gets hard for them now, but like the first 8 games were pretty much a walk in the park for the Dogs.
That's why Georgia was number 2 in the CFP.
Ohio State number 1.
One reason. Yeah. They haven't had anybody that they've had to has really played them hard and played them tough. I mean, Kentucky was maybe the toughest opponent they had so far, and they absolutely blew them out. So I think that if you're the Georgia defense, you're going to have to step up in this game, and you're going to have to get some stops early, because if you let Brady cook, then it's going to be tough for you to slow that offense down.
And like Brandon, if you look at the one team that almost beat Georgia in the last 25 games was Ohio State in last year's Peach Bowl. Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Kate Stover, C.J. Stroud, blanked on the quarterback's name for a second. I was thinking Justin Fields, because we're talking Bears earlier, Adam Ryerson, lighting up that entire defense. Then Harrison goes down, and it doesn't look as good. The best receiver, it will be Luther Burden for that Georgia defense to face since they played Marvin Harrison, who's honestly probably 2 of the 3 best receivers in the whole sport.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Luther Burden, I think, can make a difference in Missouri winning this game. Do you agree?
Yeah, Luther Burden's the X factor in this game. I think obviously Georgia has not played a receiver quite like him. It's kind of the story going around in Georgia right now. I know Kirby Smart was asked quite a few times about Luther Burden this week. But Luther Burden just has an ability to change a game just with his elite speed, athleticism, his ability to make defenders miss. And with so much attention being paid to Luther Burden, I think you could see other receivers, other guys kind of step up and make a big play, which is kind of what Mizzou needs right now, just going into such a pivotal game. So I think Luther Burden could be that guy that takes the attention off, but also makes a play down the stretch that you're like, wow, that's the reason why Mizzou won the game.
Mizzou social media had a weird post earlier this week about you can't spell Heisman without him. Trying to prop up the Luther Burden Heisman. He's not being talked about. I think he has super low odds to begin with. If he has 200+ yards and Missouri beats Georgia, and his numbers, that could be right in the race for the Heisman. Real fast, what would a win mean for this program? Because this would be their biggest win ever. I don't even, maybe a very, very long time, maybe since 2007 when they beat Kansas in Kansas City. But if they win, they're in the top 6 and truly a national championship contender. What would a win mean for Drinkwitz and then just everyone?
It's definitely the best win for this program in a very long time. Best win in college football in a long time.
Yeah, no one can beat those guys. Georgia, 41 of their last 42 games, and the only one was Alabama.
Yeah, 25 straight.
Crazy. But go on.
I think it means everything. I mean, it puts Mizzou on the map. I still think, even though the CFP committee liked them a little bit better than the AP poll has, they're still being doubted in a lot of national circles. And I think this really shows, it puts people on notice. This is a good team. They're not just getting lucky.
Yeah, STP. What do you got?
SCP. I mean, they've got to prove something in this game, and if they win this game, then they have proved almost everything. But after you win that game, you will be standing alone as the number 1 seed, with the number 1 spot in the standings in the SEC East. Then you got to go win out. Because Georgia's got some tough matchups as well.
Yeah, Ole Miss and Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely. There's chances that they drop those games, but if you're Missouri, you don't want to count on Georgia dropping a game for you to get into the SEC championship. If you win this game, you need to focus on that 1-0 mentality that they've had all season that has brought them success, and you need to take that win and use that momentum to get into the SEC championship game.
Brandon, fire us up.
I just think this matchup could seriously quiet the conversations about Mizzou being a bottom dweller SEC team. Just as a whole, obviously those have quieted a bit as we've gotten going. But if they were to take down Georgia, they'd be the first team to do it. And obviously we've talked about it so long. And that could just really be a difference maker for the program as they're searching for a time to be that team that can kind of step up as these teams are kind of struggling. So this could really be a difference maker game for Mizzou.
No team has won between the hedges at Sanford Stadium since October 2019 when South Carolina did it. It's over 40, something like that, straight wins at home for those Georgia Bulldogs. And it's going to be a tough test for the Tigers. We'll now turn to what our writers are writing about this week in their pregame feature stories. I walked them with inside through what they're writing about. These are some of the best stories we're going to see all year long in the Missourian on Friday. Wendell, starting with you, you're looking back at last year's game, the 26-22 win for the Bulldogs. It was a really sour game for the Tigers where they led for basically 3 quarters and Georgia came back at the end. What did you find out about that game?
A lot of missed opportunities. 5 field goals in that game. You got down into the red zone multiple times. Biggest one, I think, the Cody Schrader had a 53-yard rush, get down to the 1-yard line, false start, call backs him up. So just kind of going through those moments and showing where Mizzou's going to have to, be really good in those areas, finishing off in the red zone, which they have been. They're the best team in the red zone this year. So going through that game and then kind of previewing how Georgia's different from last year. It's a very different team. Coach Rink was mentioned that on Tuesday. But yeah.
Adam, you're looking back at the last time Missouri beat Georgia, which was the 2013 regular season game in October. You talked to the head coach of that team, Gary Pinkel. What did he tell you about that game?
He just told me that he told his team that they need to play their A game to win that game, and if they play their B game, they're not going to win. They were able to do it back in 2013, and I think that's the exact same message that this Missouri team needs to hear going into Athens again. I mean, it was an up-and-down game. They got up early, almost lost the game pretty much in the third quarter. It became a 28-26 game after going into halftime with a 28-10 lead. So there were some really big plays that came up for them, and I think it's really poetic, a lot of the parallels from that game and this season compared to 2013. So I think it's going to be a good read for people, and it's always fun to talk to Pinkel about how good his teams were. So.
Brandon, you're talking about a former Missouri Tiger, Dominic Lovett, had a great impact on this team in the last 2 years, then left via the transfer portal to go play for Kirby Smart in Georgia. What do you know about Dominic Lovett?
Yeah, obviously with Brock Bowers out, Dominic Lovett's now one of the top 2 options on that Georgia offense. He's kind of taken the next step forward in these past 2 games after a slow start. And just everybody remembers Dominic Lovett, just his ability to kind of make catches, yards after the catch, kind of just that ability to continue pile on defenses, and he just has that ability to kind of change the game. He hasn't really shown it this year, just hasn't had that success yet, but I think he'll come in with some revenge in mind just against the Missouri defense and trying to make a statement against his former team.
And all these great stories will be available in the Missourian on Friday. Game picks, moment of truth. Starting down there with you, Brandon. You got Tigers or Bulldogs?
This one was tough, but I got Georgia. Just the history and everything like that of just Mizzou's inability to win at Athens. Obviously, they did in 2013, but just the success that Georgia has, they're going to be motivated after CFP ranking came out and they're at 2. I just think Georgia gets the job done. I'd say probably 27-20.
Okay, Adam Ryerson.
Yeah, it was fun to write about the 2013 win. I don't think that we're going to see a repeat of that, unfortunately. I'm going to take the Bulldogs 38-30. I think both of these offenses are better than last season. It's hard to say that Georgia's is, but the defenses I don't think are on the same level. So I think we're going to see a little more scoring, a little more back and forth. I still think it's going to be a 1-point game, a solid game, but yeah, I'm going to have to take the Bulldogs.
I'm going to go real fast. I'm going to agree with the two of you. Bulldogs pull away in the second half. I think Missouri's good enough to keep it close for a half with the 2-time defending champions, but I think Kirby Smart and Carson Beck, who's really making a strong case in his Heisman discussion, I think has a really big second half. 2 touchdowns for Dominic Lovett against his former team. 37-20 Bulldogs. Wendell, you said you were saving something up, so that's why I went to you last. Surprise us. Are you going to go 4 for 4? First time all year we've picked against the Tigers?
We'll have to see. Usually on our Wednesday shows before the game, we do style points. Didn't do it at the beginning of today.
Oh, boy.
Style points are still here.
There we
Let's
go.
go.
Missouri's
There
winning
we
this
go.
football game. It's been 10 years. It's been a long time. This is the best Mizzou team since that 2013 team. Things change sometimes. I think Mizzou's going to beat Georgia this weekend.
Cool him down. He's hot. He's hot. We got to cool him down. Picking the Tigers to upset Georgia. Travis, throw it up there. Wow, lone wolf, Wendell Shepherd on the Missouri Tigers to pull off what he mentioned as one of the biggest wins in college football in a long, long time. And, putting my 7-1 season in jeopardy. I would fall back down to mere mortal with you guys down here. But yeah, it should be an unbelievable game. What's your number one thing all of you are looking forward to in Athens? Because we're all going to be there.
For me, it's the open air press box.
Yeah.
They got it on the lower level. They kind of got it tilted so you can actually see the whole field. I've been the unfortunate soul to I think we all have, gotten stuck behind a pole right in the middle of the press box. Yeah. So sometimes you get about 10 yards of the field cut off, but apparently that's not going to happen this game, and we're going to get to see a really, really good football game in a really, really good environment.
Anything special?
Just looking forward to the environment. I know it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, environment, campus, just kind of be around there. It's cool to always see another SEC school.
2 things. 1, Bob O'Reilly.
Yep.
That's the song they play there. I think I have chills when I hear that. Number 2, Ugga.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I have to see Ugga up front. I'm a big dog person. If I see Ugga, I have to take a selfie with him. I'll have my camera. I'm very excited to see Ugga. We will be back here next Monday to recap Missouri and Georgia, what could be one of the biggest wins for the Tigers in a long, long time. So the win, definitely stay tuned for a big episode then. We'll see you then. This is the Tiger Kickoff Show.